WJCL 22 News begins with breaking news.
First at 5, we're staying on top of breaking news. Shots fired at Fort Stewart, 5 soldiers injured. Thank you so much for joining us at 5. I'm Brooke Butler. The shooter is now identified as Cornelius Radford. This is a booking photo from a DUI arrest in Liberty County earlier this year. We have team coverage on Fort Stewart and in Savannah, so you have all the latest information. Let's go first to WJCL 22 News' Tia Maggio, who is in front of Woodrow Gate. She attended a news conference just hours ago. Tia, what can you tell us?
Well, Brooke, we now know the identity of the suspect. As you mentioned, that's 28-year-old Sergeant Cornelius Radford. He is from Jacksonville, Florida. And as far as we know, according to General Lubis, he tells us he was actually never been deployed in combat. He has been assigned here to Fort Stewart since 2022. And in terms of prior convictions, we do know he was arrested for a DUI. But according to the base, they did not know about that DUI until today from the shooting. Of course, just before 11 a.m., Radford had used his own personal weapon to shoot 5 Fort Stewart soldiers, 5 of his co-workers, and according to General Lubis, he commended some other brave soldiers who had stepped in and stopped Radford. Just take a listen.
I would also like to thank the brave soldiers who immediately intervened and subdued the shooter. These soldiers, without a doubt, prevented further casualties. Soldiers in the area that witnessed the shooting immediately and without hesitation tackled the soldier, subdued him, that allowed law enforcement to then take him into custody.
And also, according to General Lubis, we did also learn that those 5 soldiers that were shot are in stable condition. Some of those soldiers had to be taken an hour away to Savannah Memorial Hospital because that is the only level 1 trauma treatment center in the area. So we know that their extent of their injuries was pretty severe and they had to actually get some surgery. The others were treated right here at the installation hospital base, right here at this hospital. Of course, General Lubis also reiterated to me one thing he wants the community to know. He wasn't able to say it during this press conference because he was answering all of our questions, but he really is asking for the community's prayers and thoughts right now for not only the soldiers but their families as well, because once again, this was a very tragic experience for these soldiers who are out there fighting for their country, and today they had their own battle at their own base. For now, reporting here in front of the Fort Stewart front base, Tia Maggio, WJCL 22 News.
All right, Tia, thank you so much for that live report. Happening right now, Georgia Republican Representative Buddy Carter is actually holding a press conference regarding the Fort Stewart shooting. Let's listen into what he has to say.
I have been in contact with Fort Stewart during this time, and they've kept me up to date on what is going on. There is no longer a lockdown. A suspect has been detained, Sergeant Cornelius Radford. He's been identified and he is in custody. We're uncertain at this point as to exactly what the motive was. We do know that the weapon that was used was his own personal weapon. It was not one that had been given to him, assigned to him by Fort Stewart. I hope that all of you will join me in prayers for the Fort Stewart community. As you all know, this is a very tight-knit community, dog-faced soldiers, and as you also know, the surrounding communities, Liberty County, Hinesville, Chatham County, Bryan County, very supportive of our military and very supportive of Fort Stewart. And when something like this happens, it impacts all of us, and it's certainly tragic, and it's certainly something that we all pull together, and we're going to make sure that we help each other through this. I want to thank those who have sent their well wishes, and to those who have been impacted, to the family members, and to the Fort Stewart community. I also want to thank the first responders and the law enforcement who responded and did such an outstanding job. This was truly a tragic incident, as we all know, and you know we're so proud of Fort Stewart and the fine men and women who served there. And these dog-faced soldiers are a big part of our community in the 1st Congressional District, and we want to make sure they're safe, and we are going to make sure that they're safe. Just as they protect us, we're going to protect them. So rockin' them on, and I'll be glad to take questions now.
All right, we are going to give the first question to Nexstar's DC Bureau. Next star, are you able to unmute? Okay, we are going to go to Rob with Fox 5.
Hey there, good afternoon, Congressman. I want to get your reaction. I know there's obvious.
All right, you were just listening in to a press conference being held by Representative Buddy Carter. He reiterated a lot of what we know. The lockdown at Fort Stewart has been lifted. He mentioned that the motive for the shooter is still unknown at this time, reiterating that the weapon used was his own personal weapon. He did ask people to join him in prayer for the Fort Stewart community and the surrounding areas. We want to turn things over now to Andy Cole, who is at Fort Stewart's main gate. Andy, you were the first reporter on scene, so walk us through what you saw today.
Yeah, it was an incredibly intense scene. When I first arrived today at 11:30, there was bumper-to-bumper traffic here on General Scriven Way. That's the road to get into Fort Stewart here at the main gate right behind me. It was bumper-to-bumper as security did increased security checks of those vehicles because they simply didn't know what the situation was behind them. After that, about 30 minutes after that, all traffic ceased and they shut down access to the entire base, locking the entire perimeter down. That stayed for a good 30, 40 minutes and then traffic reopened, and it has kind of returned back to normalcy ever since then. But I want to emphasize that there is nothing normal about this day. I have said that phrase multiple times today, but there's absolutely nothing normal about having 5 U.S. soldiers gunned down by their own co-worker, another U.S. soldier identified as Sergeant Radford. And, you know, it has been a very difficult day for the folks here at Fort Stewart, but one that will continue for many days to come. We're going to continue to bring the latest, and we're going to bring it back to you.
Andy, thank you so much. We want to go live now to WJCL 22 News' Lydia Blackstone, who is outside Memorial Hospital. Lydia, you were there as 2 soldiers arrived at the hospital with a heavy law enforcement presence earlier, and you spoke to a surgeon involved in the treatment of those soldiers.
Yes, I did, Brooke, and as we're talking right now, another Army vehicle just pulled up. You can't see it behind all of these ambulances right here, but it's been very busy at the hospital here today as they are treating 2 inside that, maybe a 3rd arriving here. I'll confirm that when we get off camera real quick. We did just see another Army ambulance pull up here to Memorial Health. They are coming here to Memorial Health because this is a level 1 trauma center to get the best care, the quickest care that they possibly can. They did not come by air as they normally would because of the weather conditions. They arrived in all these ambulances after about that hour-long drive, and we spoke. And the big thing we want to stress is they are all expected to make a full recovery. That's the good news, right? And we did speak to that trauma surgeon earlier. He walked us through a little bit of what it's like treating these service members as they enter this hospital here in Savannah.
We also get a great deal of support. They all come in with a buddy, so there's always somebody there with them, which is real touching for us. But yeah, we really care about our military.
Emotion there with him talking a little bit more about what it's like to treat these service members in here. They did not expect for this to be the day that they woke up and to end up in the hospital here at Memorial Health. All their families have been notified, and we don't know where in the country they're from. They could be coming down here right now to be with them, but what you just heard is that they do have a buddy with them inside the hospital, and that's really one of the unique things about the military. There's this no man left behind mentality, and there's also a pick up your brother whenever they are wounded mentality that we're seeing at the hospital in here. If that can be one of the bright spots of our coverage today, it most certainly is. But we have just seen a 3rd ambulance arrive back there, so I'll get confirmation to see if that is a 3rd soldier arriving here. Brooke, back to you.
Lydia, thank you so much. And we do know that it's actually soldiers who helped subdue the gunman. We're told they held him down until law enforcement arrived on scene. This is a developing story. We're going to keep you updated both on air and online as we learn any new information. Be sure to also download the WJCL 22 News app to find the latest updates.